Hello, so we're just going to give everyone a few seconds. This is Ben Brown, who will be chairing the conversation this afternoon. We'll give everyone 30 seconds and then we'll be looking to begin. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ben Brown. I'm the Head of Schools and FE at XMA, and we're delighted to be able to host you this afternoon on this webinar. It was on our mind yesterday that we were probably going to have to look to do something like this with the way that the government was looking, and obviously the challenges that were obvious in the education sector around teaching, staffing, etc., and trying to keep the schools open and the colleges the same. So what we want to talk about is how you're preparing for remote teaching and learning. The conversation yesterday and the way that Boris put it to us is we don't know when we're going to be opening up again. I think there was a lot of thoughts that it may just be until Easter, and then after Easter we'd revisit it. At the moment, it looks like it may be an extended break we're going to see. So the way we're going to run this is it's very much about you. It's about the schools and colleges of the UK and how we can support you. The session is to just try and give you a bit of a view of what's available, what's possible. The ability for you to be able to communicate with not only the pupils that are not going to be in school from next week, but your local communities that are so important to you and to which you are very important to them is essential. The ability for us to be able to continue to safeguard and make sure that the students that are at most risk are secure and safe is important. But also the ability potentially to continue to allow students to be able to learn whilst they're not within the school's building. The other piece is communicating with parents. Parents don't really know what's going on, as I'm sure a lot of you are still trying to get your heads around how this is going to work over the coming weeks and potentially months. We need to be able to communicate with our parents. How do we best do that? And also the teaching staff and the staff of the schools. How are you going to communicate? How are you going to continue to make sure that you're up to date with the changing landscape and how you're going to be able to continue to work in potentially remote ways? So I'm just going to very quickly go through a couple of my thoughts. And then we're going to be passed over to a number of the panel. We're only going to spend a short amount of time each, just going through a few of the key areas that need to be considered when you're looking at remote teaching, remote learning, remote communications. So I think it all came as a bit of a surprise yesterday when the break in education in this country was basically not given an end date. So what are we going to do? Are we going to be going back before summer holidays, or is it going to be September? And I think everyone is asking the same question. So not only am I the head of schools and FE here, but I'm also a trustee of the David Ross Education Trust. And the communications between us today about how are we actually going to continue to support the children that are in our trust, but also things like free school meals. How are we going to continue to make sure the children from the more deprived areas that we serve are going to have that warm meal that they get every day? How are they going to have their breakfast? And actually, even if we do provide that service, how are we going to communicate that to the parents and to our local community? All of these areas at the moment really are providing challenges. And genuinely, for technology to be truly accepted, there normally is a real point that will change people's view of how technology can affect education and teaching and learning. This may be one of those points in time. I think it's a chance where we can really show the benefit of technology and how technology can actually help us to be able to communicate in the most challenging of situations. So for now, I'm going to pass over to my colleague Summit, who is going to talk about Microsoft. A lot of you will have Microsoft licensing and how you can get the most out of that to allow remote learning. And Summit will give us a few thoughts and a few ideas of how we can best do that.
Thanks, Ben. Hi all. So my name's Summit Tank. I'm a Principal Solution Architect here at XMA. And like Ben said, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about some of the Microsoft tools that are available to help you support remote teaching and learning within your environments. So if you already have Office 365 for Education, that's great, and Microsoft Teams will be included within that. And Teams is probably the easiest way to establish remote teaching and learning within your environment. And for those of you that don't yet have Office 365, it's just worth bearing in mind that Office 365 A1 is available to education customers at no cost. And this does include Microsoft Teams as part of that suite as well. So if you do need help getting this set up, it's definitely an area where we can assist you. So Teams, Microsoft Teams itself is a cloud service. It's accessible via a desktop, tablet, phone, or even through a web browser. So really it can be made available from any device regardless of location. So it's a really good and ideal platform in these circumstances. So Microsoft Teams provides a single platform that brings kind of conversations, resources, applications together in a single place, so that you've got a single environment where you can access all of these different types of resources that you might want from any location. So in the environment, you'd create a team for your class, and in that team, you'd have your member of staff and your students. And then within that team, once you've created it, you can have discussions, you can share files, and provide a mechanism for students to kind of access all of their work and resources that are being kind of shared by the member of staff, as well as provide a mechanism to kind of submit assignments as well. And this is something that can be really quickly set up and created to kind of create that remote classroom environment that's very important. On top of that, Microsoft Teams also allows you to have voice and video calls, and that could be on a one-to-one basis, or it could be in groups. And group meetings can consist of up to 250 users, and this can include the ability to have video presentation, like I said, as well as things like sharing presentations, whiteboards, sharing notes within that environment. And all of this can be recorded and saved for your students to review later using Microsoft Stream. So really, it's a really powerful way of kind of creating both the live and on-demand classroom environment. As well as Teams, there's also the ability to hold live events within that tool set. And this is suitable if you wanted to kind of broadcast video to a larger population. So this could be to provide announcements or updates. And this can be, within the organization, so, for your staff and students, or it can be extended out to the wider community, such as parents, by sharing a public link to that broadcast. So this could be an excellent way for the leadership teams within your schools to kind of provide updates to your staff, your students and parents as well as the wider community. So Teams is a great platform for remote learning. It's easy to set up, but there are a few things that need to be considered. So in a lot of environments, Microsoft Teams is available, but it might not be accessible by your staff and students. So it's important that you kind of check that it's enabled within the Teams Admin Center. So you can go into Office 365, go into the settings and make sure that Teams has been made available and enabled for your staff and students. So that should be the first step if it's not already there. And there's also some considerations around safeguarding as well. So out of the box, Teams is available, and it allows everyone to kind of create their own teams and send private messages. But with regards to safeguarding, it might be appropriate to restrict access to students, from creating their own teams and sending private messages to each other. So within the Teams admin center, there's a host of settings and policies that are available, and these can be set up based on your individual requirements. As well as all of this, in preparedness for the increase in uptake, Microsoft have created a blog with a lot of relevant information, and this is aimed at school leaders, teachers, as well as students. And this includes a lot of on-demand content as well as kind of upcoming webinars. And all of this has been designed to kind of help first-time users of Teams to get started, get them familiar with the tool set, as well as providing guidance to your teachers in terms of how to keep students engaged within the remote classroom. So there's a lot of content available, as well as for IT admins in terms of how to get the Teams environment set up, deployed, and being able to manage that on an ongoing basis. So with that, we'll be following this up with further communication, and we'll provide links to additional content as well. With that said, we're here to help. So if you do need any additional support about any of these features that I've talked about, feel free to get in touch.
Thanks for that, Sammy. I think that's great. And I think it's very important that we look at these tools that are already available to them and see how we can make the most out of them. And obviously that's the key piece around Microsoft, is being able to make use of all of the tools that are available. I think it's really important to look at what's free and available out to you in the market. I've noticed over the last couple of days, messages from Lightspeed, Firefly, NetSupport, Impero, also Adobe are offering a lot of their services out free of charge, initially for a certain amount of time over whilst the schools are going to be and colleges are going to be shut down. And I think there's a lot of tools out there you can take ownership of. One of the other ones we've seen a huge amount of communication from has been Google, and I'm sure a number of you are using G Suite for your in-house tools. And I'm going to pass over now to my colleague Nick Cox, who's our Google specialist, who's going to be able to talk you through some of the additional functionality as well that Google are opening up to allow you to be able to make more out of Google and being able to really take advantage of some of the remote tools. Nick.
Thanks, Ben. Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me. My name is Nick Cox. I'm the Google Product Manager at XMA. I help schools and colleges deploy G Suite and Chrome devices into the education space. And what I wanted, it was nice to see the attendee list, because I recognize some of the people that are listening in that are already G Suite customers. So a lot of this sort of stuff that I'll be talking about, you may well already know. But those who are new, Google is a free enterprise platform that is available to all education customers and colleges. It's free to sign up. You've got access to your online storage via Google Drive, where all of your collaborative and productivity suite with doc sheets, slides, Google Sites, and Google Forms, and then a layer of communication that's put over the top of that with Google Classroom, enabling teachers and students to communicate digitally, submitting homework, marking homework, and generally staying in contact with each other on a regular basis. And this can be accessed from any device, anywhere, as long as there is an internet connection. Doesn't matter what operating system it is, you can have access to it. Google, in preparation for this distance learning with COVID-19, have gone all out in terms of being able to give access to schools and colleges and universities, and have enabled some of the enterprise features within Google Hangouts Meet, which enables schools to be able to live stream sessions for live broadcasts with notifications, or keeping people up to date. You can have up to 250 people enter one individual Hangout Meet session for large scale teaching. And then you've got the ability to record those sessions as well for people to digest at a later date or when needed. Those who are new to Google, the sign up process is really straightforward. You go to You can register your domain and then verify and get access. We as XMA can help you with that service. We have a reseller console where we can work with you to get those domains registered quickly. And one of the other features that Google has announced is being able to get these domains verified and approved quickly. Within the last week, they've had over 1,000 domains registered to access their tools. So it's important that we get you verified and up and running quickly. And we have the contacts at Google to be able to push those through. Getting G Suite set up is relatively straightforward and easy to do, but one of the main features that we've started to see is to lean on partners that we work with, the likes of Wand or Salamander, WizKids as another, to be able to sync your user base into your MIS system, which is then automatically populating staff and student and creating those Google Classrooms. So fear not if you're new and that's a platform that you want to move towards. There are tools that can enable you to get set up relatively quickly with access to those accounts and automatically logging into Classroom and such. One of the other things that we've seen recently as well is the high demand for mobile devices. A lot of people don't have devices to take home, or there's not enough in school. And with the transition to Windows 10, there's still a lot of legacy devices that aren't compatible to be upgraded to Windows 10. So Google, who partner with Neverware, have a product called Cloud Ready, that the piece of software, £15, that you can flash that Windows 7 machine and turn it into a Chrome device and hand it out and make it into a usable device to hand out to your students in emergencies. One of the other things that they've pushed out as well is they've put together a really good blog site, edu.google.com. And on there is a raft of resources that are available in exploring distance learning. So there's blog posts, distance learning strategies. If you're new to Google, what does the first day of Google Classroom look like? And there are video tutorials on there that are posted on YouTube. They've done a really good job to get people up and running and going. And with the support from XMA and services that we're able to offer and the partnerships that we have in place, anyone who's looking to go down this route, then we can support massively.
Thanks,
Thank
Nick.
you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nick. I think that gives you a good view. You know, we very much have the view that we're agnostic around that platform. I think you use the platform that is best for you, the best for your teachers are comfortable with, and that they can engage best with the students. So that being agnostic is very important. Neverware as well around that cloud ready product's great. I mean, it's a real way of you being able to take any device that maybe was being used as a doorstep in your school or college and turn it into a device that one of the students can take home and use for their cloud services. We started to see some questions come in now. You know, we've got a couple more bits we're going to go through, but then the rest of the time is very much over to you, and we'll be starting to hand those questions out and answering them for you. So if you could just bear with us for a few more minutes. I'm going to bring Nick Thompson on now, who works on our support desk. So one of the main issues is how are you going to support this? I mean, the great thing around cloud services is you don't necessarily need someone sat in the school managing the network to be able to deliver these services. That's the beauty of the cloud. You get that access anytime, anywhere, and allow that engagement. But I suppose the question that I've had for Nick is, look, Nick, is it possible to be able to manage this remotely? And could you see that it's a way forward for people to be able to do it over the next number of months, that they just remotely manage their estate, whether it be in 365 or Google? Is that possible? What do you think?
Yeah, hi everybody. So yeah, I guess Ben, yes is the answer to that. So my name's Nick Thompson. I'm the Service Centre Operations Manager, and we at the moment we're currently operating out of our Nottingham Service Centre, but we are fully able to manage these environments, cloud or proactive monitoring, remote support, from wherever, including working from home, which we appreciate that might actually be a possibility. The remote, so just a little bit about the Nottingham Service Centre. We've got engineers from level 1, 2 and 3 supports. We also have a ticket logging system that, you know, we realize that we need to be flexible at this time, and your needs may different. We've got a telephone system, an email system, and a portal that you can use. And of course, Ben, you know, we can support all these technologies we've been talking about today, and perhaps some other technologies that you are using in your schools.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Nick. And I think the challenge is looking at how they can be supported. I know some of you will have your own support teams, and if you're looking to try and support that remotely, we'd be very happy to have some conversations with you around how your teams can best manage that. And if you are struggling because you don't have that support team behind you, obviously we're really keen to make sure that you are supported in your journey to remote learning. So we'd be very interested to hear from you and have that conversation. The final person I'm going to bring into our conversation this afternoon is Tobias, and I'm going to share with you his document he's pulled together of actually how can you take it from we're having this conversation today to actually delivering this out into your community, to your parents groups, but even more, how do we turn the teaching and learning that you deliver so well in your classrooms into the house, you know, into the house of the children and everyone else. So basically this is not specific, this is not around a technology, this is not even really technology based. What this is about is trying to give you an idea, some of the thoughts, some of the things you need to be thinking about as you potentially plan to look at remote learning. So, you know, Tobias, would you be able to just quickly take us through this slide and just give the people a view of what they need to be thinking about as they move forward?
Yeah, of course, no problem. Hi everyone, my name's Tobias Strong. I'm a service solution architect for XMA. So I'll just go through what we've got here on the screen. It's a 4-stage approach. So we've just created this 4-step partnership approach just to help our customers and partners kind of meet your current changing IT requirements. And like we said, it's not just technology based, but could be kind of, you know, outside of the classroom and the other components we've been talking about on this call today. So ideally, as you see on the left-hand side there, step 1 is really the discover and plan section. So that's really to identify at the moment. We're obviously talking about lots of different disparate technologies and what kind of approach we're taking. So that actually is a component we can actually sit down and look at. Okay, well, we need to come up with a plan. Where are we today, and what are we trying to achieve? What are we actually trying to deliver for our students and our teachers? So this gives us an idea as to identify what our requirements and needs are. We may have a look at what our current capability is to understand what we can and can't do, and also plan for the next phase, whatever that may be, in terms of the next kind of 3 to 4 months. And then hopefully we can help you come up with a list of changes or help you understand what exactly needs to be done to make those changes. Step 2 on here is the upgrading change. So that's the kind of the doing step, if you like. That's obviously where we will help you implement those changes or adapt your current technologies or devices to be set up to deliver the support that you need for a kind of more remote process, whether that's at home or we appreciate, obviously, at the same time there are going to be some students for key workers or key essential workers that are obviously still going to be in the classroom. So we understand that there needs to be a process or a support solution that's going to be in place for both remote and in classroom. So that kind of stage there is around actually setting that up. How are we going to actually set up the solution? Let's make sure it works. Let's help you build that and test it for your students and your teachers. And at the same time, we need to plan for further change, because we unfortunately don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. Obviously, we're in a changing climate at the moment, so we need to make sure that we're prepared for those changes. The 3rd stage is that support and advise. So we obviously understand that once that's in, there may be customers who don't have a support contract with us at the moment, or who require additional support requirements in this new solution. So we obviously can help you build a comprehensive support function. So that may be helping you build a support function that you can support internally yourselves, or it may be actually that you need additional support by using our service desk that Nick talked about previously. And ideally, we would want to enable our customers to understand and implement a comprehensive change management function, something that you have a mechanism to identify change and actually how's that going to go through, and how are you going to be quite adaptable and flexible in these changing times. So we're here as an advisory service to help you understand how that may look, and try to build some processes for you to make sure that you're adaptable should things change in the current landscape. And the fourth one on there is that change and adapt. So we may plan everything, we may implement it, we may then support it, but as we discussed, we don't know what the new normal is, and we don't know what's happening in the next couple of months. So we need to make sure that we're open to change, we're flexible and adaptable, and we're implementing a continual service improvement model, so that we, regardless of what we set up for you, is it suitable, is it kind of best of breed, is it delivering exactly what you need it to, and making sure that we're able to continually provide some improvement around those areas. And unfortunately, we in the IT world, we'd much prefer to be consistently proactive, and being on top of all the requirements, but we also need to make sure that we have a reactive approach, because there are going to be things that potentially come up that we're not able to plan for. So it's building a reactive model. So it's basically a 4-step approach of how XMA can support our customers. And look at potentially how would you go about setting something up if you don't know where you are. We appreciate everybody's at a different stage, so that's why we've implemented this. And I guess the very final thing to note is, separately to this 4-stage support model that we've got here, we appreciate that there's lots of customers who at the moment may not have students on site, but are very much still at work or at school and still kind of performing some work. And we know that we've had some customers who were planning to complete projects in the summer break that are now they're bringing those forward, and looking at obviously implementing maintenance or project works at an earlier date than they were originally. So we're obviously able to look at helping our customers in those areas if they want to utilize this lower attendance in the classrooms at the moment to fulfill some of those. So that's where we are. Obviously, if you need any help in those areas, feel free to contact us, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Tobias. And I think for me, I think it's about today is saying, look, if you've got Microsoft, if you've got Google, then you have an opportunity to be able to push out a remote learning program. But I know it may seem a long way from where you are now. And interesting, one of the questions that's just come up now, and we'll move on to those in a minute, that a lot of the information today is general. And actually, I'm not going to argue with that, because you're absolutely right. And I think a lot of people, and everyone is on a different level with this journey. We're working very closely with some schools at the moment that are already planning for the lessons they can deliver next week to their classes, whereas we've spoken to other people over the last couple of days who generally don't even know what's possible. They don't even have a view on that. And I think a lot of this is about, we wanted to show you there is a way to get there. We have the expertise within XMA, and this is very much about us working with you and having the conversations about what you're looking to do, what the outputs. The actual technology is less important. What the outputs that you want to deliver. Is it to communicate with the community? Is it to deliver teaching and learning to your students? What are the outputs you're going to look? And then there will be a technology can do that. And the best thing, you have a lot of that technology already. We're not talking about a cost. What we're doing is we're talking about empowering you to be able to use the technology you've already got to be able to support those students and teachers that are obviously in a very challenging environment. I think, you know, there are a number of other questions that come through, and I would welcome you now to start looking to ask some questions where they are. And as I say, there may have been some generic information in here at the moment. If you do have anything more specific, we genuinely have some of our best specialists on this call now who will try to answer any questions that you have now. if we can't answer any that are put forward now, then we will be contacting you straight away after this to try and engage and talk about that separately with someone who will be able to answer those questions. We've recorded this session, so if there's anyone else that you'd like to pass this on to, so they can get an idea of what is possible, even if it's just from a very starting level, and you want to have move those conversations forward and follow that conversation up, we will be sharing these slides with you and making sure that you have the information to be able to contact us and have a conversation with us. Again, you know, a lot of these tools we've discussed, they're free. A lot of other companies are making their tools free to education for at least the next couple of months. Some of them are even talking to the end of August, which is when we potentially expect to see an end. And again, our advice, we're not charging you for our advice. We're here to hopefully be able to guide you to be able to do the best thing for your students and teachers and your schools and colleges community. One of the questions that has come in was from James, which is about, is Teams accessible on only accessible on devices running Windows? Summit, do you want to come in on that point?
So yeah, I can answer that. So no, so it's available on a multitude of devices. Essentially, if the device can you know, run and a web browser, it's available through a web browser as well. So you know, it can be a Chromebook, it can be an Apple Mac, it can be an iPad, or it can be an Android phone, as long as you've got you know, the relevant Teams client downloaded, or you've got a web browser where you can access Teams from, you'll be able to access it.
Thanks, Amit. That's great. And I think, again, I would add to that. We haven't talked much today about the devices. A lot of the technologies are device agnostic. You know, it matters much less about the device, but actually around the content and how you're delivering it. So we haven't talked a lot about devices. Again, if you've got any questions around devices, how are you going to get devices into the home? I know one of the things we've been asked a lot is about, you know, can they just use their devices at home? Well, there's no reason they can't. There are some challenges around that, but none of them are by any means unsolvable. And I think, you know, that's what it's about. It's about sitting, looking at the situation we're in. What are the challenges that face us, and how do we resolve those and find a solution that's going to work for us? As I say, I've seen another question that came in from Tish around, will the document be shared later? That can obviously give you this kind of 4-step approach to how you'd move forward. Absolutely, and please, if you want to use that as a basis for your planning, do so. I haven't seen any further questions come in. Has anyone else got any questions they'd like to ask? We'll give you 1 minute. If any questions come in the next minute or so, then obviously we'll look to continue and answer those for you. Okay, so yeah, we just had a question come in. So it's from Sean, and basically asking who should you speak to? Well, obviously we'll be following this up with all the attendees that have come in, and we'll be looking to make sure that you have all the details to contact us, and we'll put forward our telephone number and the email address you can use to contact us here at XMA. If you'd like to have a conversation, if you need to talk to anyone, feel free to use that. We will be contacting you to try and follow this up. And please, if there are any further questions that come to mind, then feel free. Okay, I've just seen a further question come through. We'll be able to contact you. So we are quite literally eating our own lunch at the moment and remotely working. So absolutely, we have absolutely no intention of going anywhere over the coming weeks and months. This is one of the times when technology really can help, and we will be here. As I say, I'm currently still in our office, but we will be looking to remote, and I know a good number of my team are already remotely working. So feel free, if you have an account manager, then feel free to continue talking to them, but there will be someone from XMA always available to be able to speak to you. Something else that's come up, you know, if we are we able to support provide support around applications that are on your devices? Absolutely, that's what we do. I think, you know, some of the services we run managed services all the way from running the entirety of your technology purely down to running the applications that you are running as a school. So absolutely, those types of things are very much available. Again, come and talk to us around any of those particular requirements you might have. And I know one of the other things that's been pretty major at the moment is supply chain. So a lot of people have been looking for those devices to be able to put in the hands of their students. It is a challenging environment out there, you know. Obviously, coronavirus has caused a number of issues, but there was already issues before that around the supply chain. But we've done a great job of being able to drive the supply chain to our benefit, and we normally can help to provide them. So definitely. Again, you know, one of the your staff potentially are going to be quarantined. Questions coming around whether we can look to support setting up people remotely. Absolutely, where we're using cloud technology, we can set people up wherever. One of the programs we're looking at the moment is actually, if everyone is out of the school, is it possible for us to set an environment up and then send those devices to each of the people who need a device's home? And that's possible, very much so. So we can send a device that's been white glove set up, so they get it, they put their password into the device, and everything that they would expect to see when they're in school is suddenly available to them at home. So absolutely, there's the ability for us to be able to support you with that. An interesting question is coming from James Dowson, actually, about how easy it would be able to make the school website a means to connect with families. So very easy. Now you'll either be using Microsoft or Google, I would imagine, as your productivity suite within the school. Now it's very easy to link either of those into the website. Now the website will be very important. Obviously, you know, any school's website has a lot of information that's very important, whether it's from the governance of the school, the safeguarding, the last Ofsted has to be on there. Using your website in the short term to communicate with parents is a great idea, and it's an easy way for you to be able to do it. Now you will be able to work in the background to potentially use your productivity suite through your website, adding it into your website as a key way of you being able to communicate. So absolutely, a school website is a great way of communicating. Obviously, understanding exactly how your website's set up, etc., would lead us to be able to help more. But again, contact us. We'll have a look at what you're currently doing and find the best way for you to be able to communicate with your students and teachers community. Okay, so I'll give everyone another 30 seconds to see if anything else comes through. Again, I think from our side, it's very much about staying in communication. You know, this is what these platforms are about. It's allowing us to be able to communicate. You know, the platform we're communicating on now, whether it be a Teams or a Google platform you're using in the school, it's allowing you to be able to communicate, whether it's into that local community or whether it's speaking to your teachers and staff and pupils. it's allowing you to be able to communicate. And I think at this time when we are challenged and we are going to potentially be seeing less of each other, that communication is really key to keep that sort of morale and the team spirit going. So again, this is a way for the teachers to be able to continue to work together as we potentially aren't going to be spending as much time in each other's company. But again, I do believe that remote learning is a big possibility at this time. And I think if we take advantage of the technology we already have, as I say, I think a lot of people actually have this technology within their environments already. And I think if we work together, continue to communicate, as I say, we're going nowhere, and you'll be able to contact us remotely from home or whether you're in the school. And I think if we keep talking, then we should be able to continue to find some ways of continuing to communicate with the people we've got around. So okay. Right, I think we've had all the questions, so we'll wrap that up for today. This is the first communication you'll have with us like this. We're probably going to continue to look at running these webinars, again, as a way of communicating with our community, you know, our customers and our partners that we work with. We want to continue to talk with you. We'll continue to share opportunities for you to take advantage of some of the great technology that people are giving away at the moment to try and help you be able to continue to work with your staff and your students, and we will be here. So feel free to contact us, and thank you very much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll speak to you very soon. Bye.